Welcome, everybody. Will here. Just getting set up for another podcast here. I made a little YouTube short earlier, so this is going to tackle some of that. What Bentov was working on at the time. I see some flickering, and I think it's from this light, so I'm going to move this off and see if that kind of helps change things. I've got to get a better setup. Man, I'm disappointed with this, but man, I'm also a minimalist, and I don't make a whole lot. I'm going to see if I can do this. It's true. No, that's for sure. But, so what I've got is on today's live session, what I'm going to talk about, for the most part, is what Bentov was working on at the time when he got onto the plane that crashed. I'm not sure how well this audio is, or even if you guys can hear me. Still setting up the studio. Audio input capture. Says it's good. I'm going to pin something here. Welcome in all. Say hello. Let me know if you guys do come in here. And just say hello. Let me know if the audio is okay. I'm still working on the setup. But I had a lot of information and I want to get it out. I also want to get some practice in front of the mic. So this is another podcast episode. I don't have a formal script. I have big ideas of what I want to talk about. And I'm going to try to keep it somewhat short in some respects today. So let's talk about Itzhak Bentov and his last final years there. What he was working on as far as consciousness. And I was doing super deep dives again. I always end up doing a lot of this research. What happens is I'll find something that I think is a source or something for some new information. And sometimes they will end up being really good as far as, something I can kind of develop, whether I can add it to something existing that I'm already working on, whether it's his meditation or his 7 Hertz or just whatever the concept may be. I like learning more. And there was a big foundational thing that I found out last night and this morning sometime. There was a realization that a lot of the work that Itzhak Bentov was working on at the time was... people had already heard that stuff. He had been lecturing for a while. These were ideas that he actually came up with late 60s, early 70s. Stalking the Wild Pendulum didn't come out till 77. And and then it went really mass produced in 79. So not many people even had that first edition copy of Stalking the Wild Pendulum or Higher Consciousness. So it took him a while for those books to come out. At first, it's not like he was a book person. He was an inventor. He was an engineer. He had great concepts about consciousness and was slowly putting these books together, gathering information. He was calling top universities, getting some of that information to put these books together. But by the time a lot of people had heard of these books in 77, 79, that information he had already worked on years prior. It's just like a lot of the scientists of the day, that a lot of their work takes a while to actually get noticed, take traction, and by then, when you go look up those scientists, they're already on to far, far different things, or maybe they're re-talking about, trying to explain some of their concepts. And that's what I see with Bentov. Bentov was no different. Bentov was, when he did his lectures, what you guys see on YouTube, or maybe when you read his books, a lot of times it's his older stuff that he could talk about it so fluidly because that was old news basically for him. His study of higher consciousness, how you become enlightened and the evolution of it and that kind of stuff. He had really laid that down. Now what he was doing, what we have on record for what he was doing, like I said, goes to a lot of his wife and what she was saying at the time about where he was going. He got on a plane in Chicago. It was American Airlines 191. that plane did not make it to LA. Um, and the information that we have is that he was heading out there to meet up with some Japanese scientists and go to a convention of some kind. Um, if anybody has any more information about this, I'm really looking right now, so please let me know if you guys find anything else. But what I have is there, as far as I can see, there was no really big conventions or things that Itzhak Bentov would have been attending down there at the time. It could have been a university closed door meeting that he was heading down there to see. But also, there was never any real Japanese scientist that came out afterwards and said, you know what, Itzhak Bentov was supposed to meet with us and he just never showed up, or there was never any talk that I can find. Once again, if anybody can find anything on that, let me know. This is what his wife said, and we really accepted it as truth because we don't have anything else. But the fact of the matter is I like to do a lot of research and digging and finding out maybe what he was working on was a little bit different. And so that's what we're going to talk about today on today's podcast. When I found this information out, what I'm about to explain and tell you all, I was floored. I was completely floored because I thought I had wrapped up Itzhak Bentov pretty well. I had written numerous books about him. Links are down in the description if you just want to see what type of books those are. I did deep dives on his meditation, his 7 hertz, his other stuff. I feel like I exhausted my resources of Bentov. I'm always throwing that hook out there. Hey, if anybody has anything, let me know. I'll dive even further. Because I think that, like Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, these people who had advanced ways of perceiving nature, seeing patterns and things that are beyond what generally most of us could ever dream of seeing. So, and whenever we find those people, it's best to study them, what they were working on, what they did. For Newton and Einstein, we know exactly what they were working on all the way up to the end. For like Bentov, it's not exactly so clear. I think a lot of his work got possibly confiscated by the government. I believe what he might be working on at that time was getting the meditations down pat. The reason for that is one of the problems that the CIA had with the gateway process is that didn't it wasn't very reliable. It wasn't very easy to teach people to do this. It wasn't something that they had a big structure on. Also, on top of that, a lot of the military top brass just didn't believe in consciousness or telekinesis, telepathy. They hadn't seen anything like that before. Some of them were open to it, but there just wasn't enough traction there to keep that going. So, but I do believe, it's my honest truth, that towards the end, I'm going to do even more research about this. I believe that Itzhak Bentov, in the last 2 years of his life, was developing meditation techniques to hone in on becoming an antenna and a beacon. I think he was doing deeper dives in consciousness, as far as being able to fundamentally grab it and be able to explain it and express it. His diagrams were always amazing, and he did a lot of diagrams. Towards the end, they were gone. And I question, I think they were out there and somebody had them. They're somewhere, Monroe Institute. I have no idea. They're in some archives. Maybe the government has them. They're still, using them for something. But I think the world would benefit way more from that open source information about consciousness and things to try. We won't really know, I think, what the capabilities are and what the extent is until you open source it, until you have a lot of people trying it. I know there's a fear. I know there's a scare for the government. Hey, this could be used against us. This could open doors into worlds we're not prepared to go in. So that's what I got for today. I'm going to make another video, and I appreciate you guys coming today. Thank you guys all, and have a wonderful day.